Alright, this is going to be a quick video on how I converted my triple 32 monitor stand to accommodate these 48-inch OLED TVs. This is the Tony Kanaan branded triple monitor stand from Micro Center. It cost $250 plus tax out of the box, and then I had added the Vario VESA adapters for another like $120 from SimLab to accommodate the 32s. And then I wanted to still use those, so I found a solution for using those, and I also found a solution for accommodating the extra width of the 48s. So these beams here, I'm in the dunce chair. This is the best way I figured to do this. These beams here, these cross pieces of aluminum profile, are 860-ish millimeters. And the feet that are on here are 590. So the way I started was the original cross pieces of aluminum profile for the side monitors were too short for these wide monitors. TVs rather. These TVs are 42 inches. So, or approximately 107 centimeters or 1070 millimeters. So I was looking at the feet of this guy. These are actually the feet, and those are the original pieces that had the 32-inch monitors on them. First thing I did was swap them, and stability wise there's no change in stability using the shorter pieces for the feet. So that was step one. Step two was adapting the SimLab Vario VESA adapter mounting brackets for the 32s to be able to accommodate the TVs. And they have like the arms you can buy that stick off, each way. Those look kind of jank to me. I didn't like that. So I found these. This is an adapter plate, and these LG OLEDs are weird. They're 300 this way and 200 vertically, so it's kind of an odd pattern, but this has all the patterns you could want. So the other thing I did was I upgraded the screws that come with this thing because they seemed really like zinky kind of crap. So I bought, I know they're in classes. They were class 10 or something. The best ones the hardware store had to mount this to the SimLab. Now the SimLab, if I remember correctly, can hold up to like 12 to 16 kilograms, something in that ballpark. But these TVs were like 25 pounds without the stand. So I haven't had an issue or hadn't had any concern whatsoever with the SimLab Vario holding onto this. Now, the one thing I'll caution anybody on when they're using these, one of the negatives of these is they don't wrap around like some others. Hold that thought. This is the original that came with the. This is the original that came with the Tony Kanaan stand. These are okay. They just don't have the minute adjustments that the SimLabs do, so it's a little bit more difficult to fine tune and get everything lined up. Now, what's nice about this, though, is it wraps around the entire piece of profile. So actually, when you mount this onto the profile, it's so stiff and it's so there's so much friction in between, this and the profile. You really don't even need bolts. So you can set it on there. You can do these or this, and when you're kind of sliding it around, you don't have to have it fully anchored in. Now with these, not only do they have just the top, but they're shaped like an oval, the holes, so there's a lot of play within the actual mounting holes. So, one trick that I have is I use these brackets and I suck it into it when I'm trying to torque this down to get it tight. This is like having an extra set of hands if you can get it in there and get it just right. The other thing I use these for is when I'm making adjustments to the height over here. If I know I'm going to go up, then I'll just put it right against this, right against the corner brackets that are holding this up, And then once I loosen it, it's not going to slide down and Bambi, basically. It just splays out, and you lose control fast if you haven't taken your TVs off, which isn't smart, but I do it anyways because I'm impatient and I don't want to take everything apart. So these saved me a bunch of times. So I actually made the mistake with my 55-inch OLED that I had mounted in the center once. I didn't take it off. I didn't have these at the time. And the whole thing just, as soon as you loosen it, it just splayed out. And it was severely unstable. And I caught the TV and my hand was bloody. So never doing that again. Always using these. Still haven't learned my lesson though. I still leave the TVs on, but at least I have these now. So these are good for going up, and then if you're going to go down, you measure how much you need. You know, if you're measuring for your eye line, you measure where you want your eye line to be, the middle of the monitor, and if it's 2 inches down, then you place these 2 inches down. So while you're adjusting and lowering, you don't have to actually measure. You've already done your measurement, and you just lock these into place. Do it on each side. It will crash down onto them, and these catch it. I've done it. But that brings me to my next point. This was my other addition. I bought these pieces on Amazon. These are 1,000 millimeters. It was 4 pieces for like $76 or $86. Yeah, it was some money. It wasn't nothing, but it was better than buying a $650 profile monitor stand that's meant for TVs. These guys I think are $20 each, so that's another $60. But that was it, I think, in terms of expense. Just so roughly $140 to convert a $250 plus the vases. So that's $120, $370, somewhere in there, and then some tax. So then you spend an extra $140. But you've already spent the original money, so you're just spending an additional $140. So these, like I said, 1,000 millimeters. I have some more room to go up if I need to. With these in place, any adjustments you do over here, you're not going to get any sag. So if I loosen these, nothing's going to happen to this as long as these brackets are still sandwiched. In fact, here's a loose bolt right here. They don't even really need to be tight with this extra leg. And then I have feet that I had repurposed some profile from the rig that I had left over. I'm not camera ready. One last thing I had to do. These Tony Kanaan brackets have holes here and here. If I were to try to use the native holes, these two right here, this whole apparatus would have had to been pushed in another almost 3 inches. So if I had this in 3 inches, obviously this TV is going to be 3 inches in front of the center TV, so that was no good. So I drilled a hole that is only, so the native holes are about 5 inches apart. The new hole that I drilled here, you see that? Yeah, I can pause and maybe I'll try to get some B-roll overlay over that if I'm really trying to be professional, even though I'm no professional Dave. No professional Dave. So the first hole in there is the native hole that came with the bracket. This hole here is only 2 inches away. So I moved the holes because you want 2 anchoring points onto the main cross beam of the whole construction. Because if you only had one, you could get some swivel going this way. Like if somebody bumped into it, like I can kind of bump into it. It shakes a little bit, but everything stays where it's supposed to stay. So this aluminum is actually really easy to drill through. If you just, you can buy a single bit if you need a nice bit. And I actually measured it up, and you can use a little like WD-40 just so it doesn't get hot. And I actually used the other holes, and I sandwiched them all together, and then I bolted them together with just M8 bolts that I have and some nuts. And then I used the first hole as the pilot hole for the rest, and I just drilled all through the other 3 all at the same time. So that ensured, and it's funny too because this hole that I made is just ever so slightly out of line because the bit must have ran on me, but it doesn't matter because even though this probably isn't plumb this way, it might be just a little bit this way. It doesn't matter because you have so many other articulating points you can compensate for that. But what I didn't want is I didn't want the holes in the other brackets to be different. So that's why I sandwiched them all together, and they're all off, but that's okay because they're all off equally. That's the main point. One other thing, don't mix and match mounts. I had this as on the center, and I thought I'll just leave that there. It's perfect, it's level, and then I can just adjust the other ones to accommodate this. Well, so when I did that, the problem was that the way the sim labs are engineered, the monitor sits lower, so I had about a 2-inch gap that was impossible to overcome. So I had to order another plate because I'd only ordered 2, and I had to take these off so I could get at the middle one and take it off, and then I had to wait for the new. So moral of the story, I'll use the same 3 mounts. Don't try to mix and match. All right, I'm going to take you behind the scenes here. We'll do a quick close-up overview of everything I've been talking about. So there's your conjunction, joining point, whatever, mating point between the adapter plate and the SimLab. These are the new screws and bolts I bought because I didn't want to use the cheap ones that came with it. This is, you can see how there's hole exposed because these holes here on the SimLab Varios is an oval. So when you're trying to cinch that down, there's play. I mean, even as you're tightening it, it makes, like, this one pushes it out and this one pulls it in because of the way the friction creates an inertia point on the actual mount. So it's difficult, especially with the TV on there. Another really quick tip is make sure these are long enough because the other one on the other side there, I loosened it a little bit because I had to slide it this way or that way, and I came unjoined with the Tina underneath, and I basically, it was just hanging on by the bolt, stuck in the channel, and that was dangerous and it was stupid, and I almost lost the TV in the process. So don't do that. Make sure the bolts are long enough so that you can loosen them a little bit if you need to. Okay, so over here, let's get to where I drilled my hole. So this is the hole it's supposed to be in, and this is the hole that I drilled. So we have 2 points. They're both connected tightly to the cross beam. We're good. Another thing I can recommend, if you're going to be trying to adjust these with it, everything still intact and not taking down, make sure you have good corner brackets. So like these ones are crap. These are also like an oval. So when you loosen this, the whole thing can go that way because it can have play within the corner bracket. Now these ones came with my my chassis, my rig metal chassis. These are high quality. These are just circles. So there's no play. When you loosen it, you're not going to get any play this way. Yeah, and then I have another one on the other side. So this crossbeam is held on by 4, and I also used those orange clamps to suck it in together while I was tightening it down so that it was nice and flush this way. And then those are the original cross pieces for the monitors that I had, and then there's the feet that I'm using. That was just a small piece of profile. I had 2 of the same that came with the rig metal chassis that I wasn't using. So that's really about it. And then behind, it's actually organized back there. It doesn't look like it, but there's just so many wires. If you don't have a 16 port powered hub, I highly recommend that Acasis. The thing's badass. So to sum up, if you want to transform your triple monitor stand, aluminum profile triple monitor stand to accommodate TVs, this is what you need. You need the legs, you need the adapter plates for the SimLab Varios if that's what you already have. You need to swap the original feet with the original cross pieces for the side monitors. And if you have a bracket like this, which a lot of them do, you're almost assuredly going to have to drill new holes. All right, I think that's everything that I wanted to cover. If I missed anything, if you have any questions, feel free to ask in the comments. If you need to see anything specifically, I can, get in Discord and we can send you a picture. Thanks for watching. I hope it helped.